It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Hello to all. Welcome to Divas That Care Network. I am Joyce Benning, and I will be your host for this invigorating, robust lifestyle show. I would first like to thank each one of our listeners that have tuned in live today and the ones that will be listening to the podcast. I am just so very grateful for each and every one of you. And you are all in for a very special treat today, as I have with me my returning diva, Kate Neligan, and her and I are going to chat about benefits of awe. Oh my, you guys are in for a really special show today. Kate, could you please introduce yourself to our listeners today?
Yeah, I'm always so grateful to be here. Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome.
So I am an equine-partnered life and business coach, animal communicator, speaker, and author. Essentially what that means is I am dedicated to the human-animal bond and pairing humans and horses, primarily horses, together for personal and professional development.
Oh, wow. What an exciting and invigorating lifestyle that is, to be able to help people along with the horses as your partners in this equine business. Oh, how exciting, Kate. Well, Kate, as we talk about benefits of awe, what comes to your mind that you would like to start this chat about today to share with our listeners of the benefits of awe?
Yeah, so I was thinking about a topic that could be invigorating, and I love talking about awe. I have a company called Awakening with Equines, which the acronym is AWE, and it's really because I believe the horses spark and inspire a lot of awe in people, and I see it all the time when people come and meet my horses, and also goats. I partner with them too, and really all animals in nature, that there's just so much awe that we feel just being in their presence. And I, for years, used to do a newsletter called The Weekly Awe, and it was to bring an awe-inspiring video, an uplifting conscious media video to people every week. And so I had always done a lot of research on awe, and I just started to do more in preparation for this podcast, and I just am excited to share about it. And, you know, I would love to ask you, like, what your feelings or definitions are of awe to get going, and then I'm happy to share some of what I found.
Oh, I would love to. That is, thank you for asking. That is incredible, because things are just coming to my mind. When I think of awe, I think of the animals, definitely, my horses, because they put me into awe. Every time I see them and I hear them nicker and I'm next to them and feeling their body and loving and grooming on them, whatever I am doing with them, I am just in awe. And I feel that way with my dogs and the kitties, and just even when I walk out the door in the morning, the awe of the beauty that surrounds me with the trees and the sky. And right now we're in the fall season, and the leaves are so gorgeous, and sunrises and sunsets. My husband always says, "You said that last night, that it's so beautiful," and you're like in awe. And I'm like, well, it is. So those are just some things that immediately come to mind, that what I describe as my awe moments or my awe times.
I love it. Yeah, and like it brings up this exercise right away that I think of for people to write down what brings them awe, where they feel awe or when they feel awe. And awe is essentially an emotion. It's a feeling of amazement. I think of it as wonder as well. And it's this sense that it's like something is outside of the normal. It's extraordinary. And it's, for many people, something that I think is a good thing. I mean, there's certainly awe where it's like, oh, I'm in awe of how that person treated me. Like, I had no idea they could be that crazy or ridiculous or whatever. So awe can also be like, I'm in awe of that. Like, I'm in awe of your response. It doesn't always have to be a good thing, but usually it is. And then a lot of like cool research on it, which I'm excited to dive into, like the actual benefits of it. But I think a good exercise would be to start with like, what brings you awe? Where do you feel awe and when? And for me, it's like I look at the Rocky Mountains here, and every day I'm like obsessed. It never gets old. I love the views. I'm in awe of these 2 mountain peaks that we have right across from the ranch, and the sunsets. And lately I've been like staying with my horses late at night and watching the constellations come up instead of like the moon's not up yet. And I'm just like loving all of the constellations in the night sky and just so peaceful. And like, I'm the only one outside on the 15-acre property besides my horses. And it's just like so magical. I also find that if awe is in kind of your core values, it's one of mine, awe and wonder, and novelty. And really, I find that novelty is often what can spark awe. The doing something novel, something different, can spark awe. And that is one of my core values. And so I just love being able to talk about it and bring it to people. Getting to experience awe with someone is also like a deeply connecting, intimate experience. And I think that's also something that I love to do. I always say I love doing firsts with people because it's that novelty and that experience of like the newness and the open mind that we have when we explore with curiosity, like where we are in the awe and wonder of just being here on Earth, right? And right now, like it can feel hard to be here on Earth. So I think awe is like our medicine. It's our antidote to it.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Definitely. It's where you can go to find out what brings you peace and tranquility from all the hardships and things that are going on in the world around you, is kind of how I look at it. It's almost like a little bit, you go inside to feel what brings you that awe, and then you're around that. And I loved how you said it's one of your core values, because, what a beautiful value is to find that awe, that what brings that awe inside of you to make you feel that way. And it's such a good feeling when you see those awe moments. And you talked about the stars, and the stars have just been beautiful these last few nights. I've really just noticed how bright they are, and being out there with my horses and my dogs, and I'm like, this is just beautiful. This is another awe moment. And just finding those times, I think, is what is so important, and allowing yourself to take the time to find those awe moments.
Yeah, and I actively seek awe and ask that my clients do as well. Like, I always encourage a bucket list, which is always stuff that, like, I know will bring people awe and wonder, and a joy list, which is a little different, but it's like stuff that we know we love to do because it naturally raises our vibration. It naturally shifts us, and like there's like more research coming on the neuroscience of awe and like how it can change the brain chemistry. And essentially, I think awe immediately puts us into our heart space, which we need more of these days. So.
Oh, I so agree with that. Definitely. That's, like I said, going inside yourself and finding what brings you that awe, going to your heart, and the heart will tell you what brings you the awe, and that's where that good feeling comes from. And yes, that is beautiful. And I love your having a bucket list and a joy list. Just the different things that can bring out the awe in you.
Yeah, and I find a lot of people love travel and nature, and nature can be easy for a lot of people, except when I guess it gets cold in winter months. But then we have the beautiful advent of YouTube and technology and video to watch and get into that state of awe and wonder. And we don't necessarily just have to travel to foreign countries. Like, I remember there was one day, there's like a senior center in my town, and they built this incredible rose garden next to it. And I'm like in awe that A, they did that for these seniors, and B, that it's like right there hiding behind this building in my town, and I didn't even know it was there. And I like must have spent an hour looking at like all of the roses and taking photos and like looking at their faces and just like smelling them. And like it was so amazing that, you know, there's little pockets of awe anywhere and everywhere. And I think one thing too, I work with a lot of moms, like, you know, kids can be challenging at times, and our animals too, and we can get into the mundane of life, like that routine. And I find a lot of people are like, they feel stuck when they're in routine with work, routine with job. And I had clients recently, this young couple, they were feeling like really in the mundane of life, and just kind of, it can drive hope down, right? And so what I asked them to do is like to just notice what did bring them awe. And so that way it starts to shift them into that place of like, oh yeah, there is a lot to live for. There is a lot to do here. There is a lot to experience. And there's studies that people feel more, have a sense of greater community when they are in awe situations, right? Like they had one where they were looking at a dinosaur skeleton, right? And so there's some really cool things that definitely it helps with our connection really to ourselves and to the universe and to each other, which I love. There's also studies where it helps people actually become more generous and cooperative, which is something we really need right now in humanity. And it also, I think, changes perceptions of time. It allows us to feel like more expansiveness, that there's not this like rush to do, but there's a beingness. Like I think that's one of the things with awe is that often nature, art, beauty, animals, all being energies more than doing energies, spark awe, and that's it reminds people to reflective, you know, feeling, and also that mirror of, oh yeah, I can just be. And there's a lot of awe in just being. So it can change our version of time and doing as well.
Yes. It just brings to what my gray horse always says, just live in the moment and enjoy the moment. No tomorrow, only today. And I just think of that so many times, and this just awe kind of comes into it. Enjoy what's happening at the moment and see the awe moments around you, and not the to-do list that us humans always have going on. I know we always have things we have to get done, but if we can just live in that time where we're in the moment and think about no tomorrow, only today, and enjoy those beautiful awe moments. I hear you completely on that, and it just reminded me so of what he's always reminding me of that one.
Yeah, and our power is in the present moment is what I always say to people too, right? Like and that's where we start to feel more safe in that moment, where we're like, okay, in this moment everything is okay, and we're not in the past of any trauma that we've experienced or in the future with the unknown, which can spark anxiety. Like the now moment is where there's a lot of peace and power. And there's a feeling that comes with awe often that people feel smaller or more humble. And to me, that's not like smaller diminished, but it's smaller like, oh yeah, I'm this one being connected to so much in this universe, multi-universe, was, 7+ billion people and, tons of species of, and there's this element of like our egos sometimes think all our problems are the worst thing ever and the only thing ever. And it really kind of puts us back in that place of being humble and realizing that, there's a whole wide world out there. We don't have to get so caught up in our problems. I had an issue yesterday, and my intuition, luckily, like she comes online, and she just said, "Are you going to care about this in a year?" And I went, "No, I'm not going to care about this in a year." She's like, "So let it go now." And I'm like, "Thank you." I'm like, I love how she talks to me because I'm like, oh yeah, it's like having the greatest coach at all times. I'm in awe of my intuition. I'm in awe of other people's intuition. But yeah, I definitely feel like I'll never forget once I was working out on this treadmill in New York City up at like 8 floors up in in Soho, right near this company I was working for at the time in my early 20s. And I just had a moment where I was like, there's a whole world of cars and people and all of that. And I'm this tiny little dot in space on this tiny treadmill. And I don't need to think I'm so important, right? Like, my problems are so important. Like, I can really get back to that interconnectedness. And I had a moment of awe. And what I find is big things make people feel awe, right? Like the horses are so big for people, a dinosaur, the sunset's so expansive, the Rockies are huge, right? Like that often is what can like spark, or the night sky, like stuff that's so much bigger than us. And I love that polarity of like big and small and playing with that energy, right?
Oh, yes. And there are so many things, like you just explained with the sky and the Rockies and the horses are big, but there's so many little things that can bring awe. Something that came to my mind is feathers. I love finding feathers, and I have quite a collection of them, but some of them are so small, but they're so amazing to me. It's just like, this was once on a little bird, and it dropped down here on the ground for me to find. And I'm like, they're just beautiful. So, and sometimes I'll see a beautiful leaf, just one particular leaf on the ground. So it's neat that there are big and little awes that we can find in this world. People don't have to think it has to be a big, expansive thing to bring you in awe. It can be something so small that can bring you to the awe. I even think of little ladybugs. I always think they're pretty. And I'm like, yeah. And they're so little, and how they get around. And the ants, they're so small, and how they crawl around everywhere. So, yeah, there's so many little things in this world, too, that can bring in the awe.
Yeah, I feel like it's often in, like, the polarity, and I love that you point out those examples because they're amazing and wonderful. And, like, I love seeing a spider web and how did a spider design this, right? And then I love the feather example and the ladybug example, and, like, the dirt brings me a lot of awe because, like, I know what is in there, like the microbiomes and like what the dirt and like how powerful the dirt is for humanity. And like sometimes like a single flower, like it's cold right now, and I'm like, I have these flowers on my deck that are just flourishing out of nowhere, and I'm like, how's that growing? Is that existing right now? So I think it's like focusing on just anything and everything. And it's so funny because when I get like really excited about awe, I usually have like a face that goes with it and some sort of expression, and people are like start laughing, and I'm like, I remember once I walked to see my parents in Florida, and I walked out to the ocean on the boardwalk, and so one lady was coming back off in the boardwalk, and I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing! Look at the color! Like, and I was so excited, and I've seen the ocean before, but I live in the mountains, and so I was excited to see the color of it and like be there, and like. This lady just took a look at me and she just started laughing, but I know it wasn't like she was laughing at me and thought I was stupid. She just was like, oh, wow. I was like a child. It's like that childlike state that we need to bring back as adults to this place of like joy and wonderment and like just feeling super excited about like what's here. And there's a coach I like, and he always says life is a playground. And like I kind of think if we hold that, like instead of life is hard, because I grew up with a dad that always said life is hard. I think it's so important if we all.
Oh, I do too. I definitely do. To me, it's focusing on the positives and not the negatives. Because when I hear life is hard, that comes to me as a negative. But if you hear it as life is a playground, it comes as a positive. And it's amazing how your mindset changes when you go to that positive state, and you can find those awe moments in everything. That's kind of an example how I come from what you just said. And so many people, they go to the negative, and I'm going, wait a minute, let's flip this around and look at the positives rather than all these negatives. And you start to talk about that, and then they're like, oh, okay, well, I guess that wasn't quite as bad as I thought. It's amazing how it can change the whole situation by pulling out the positives.
Yeah, and awe is the mood booster, which is really what we're talking about, right? That it can shift your energy, and it can shift us out of the routine and mundane, which I find so many humans are in right now. And it can also shift us out of negative or, lower vibration stuff like guilt or shame and whatnot, and this be like, wow, the awe that this actually happened. I love synchronicity and serendipity for awe as well, like things that you're like, how could that have happened? Like, how did that sign show up, and how did I meet this person at this time in this way? And like that always sparks awe for me too. But I think one thing that can grow awe is if you call it that, right? You claim it and you go, oh, this is bringing me awe, this is bringing me wonder, and to really stay with it, not just bypass it and be like, okay, well, what's next, right? And to just really grow it. And I think that, to me, like, I have an intentional practice to grow awe, hence wanting to share about it, and hence wanting to share the horses, because the two things I see with the horses that spark awe is, one, people are immediately amazed at their size, especially if they don't know horses, how big they are, and how gentle they are, even though they're so big and so powerful. And like, they obviously can hurt us in different ways, but they're so gentle and soft. And people are amazed that like something that's so powerful can be that soft and gentle. They're in awe at the size of their eyes. I mean, people are also very in awe of my goats, because my goats are very calm and they don't expect that. And they also, like, their eyes are slits and they can see 360, and then they like wag their tails, and they're like, gosh, these goats are so fascinating. So I love getting people into those states, because I find that like real healing can happen when we're in like these outside of the box spaces, right? Where all of a sudden we're bypassing our logical linear mind and we're in a creative energy. And then we can create new solutions when we're in that space. So I love just what the animals do to spark it. And then the other side is like what we say as practitioners all the time is you can't make this stuff up, right? And like there's no way like a horse does something for the client at the exact moment the client needs, and we're like, what? Like, how did that horse know? How are they reading that? And or there's some sort of learning that happens that like you could never try to make it happen, or you could never control it or plan for it, and it's just massive awe. It's so awe-inspiring, and people are like, what? How did that happen? And that happens to me all the time, and I've been doing it for 8+ years, and I'm still in awe of how the actual work between the human and the horse goes down. Like, it's so cool. And people are like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, you have to just experience it. Like, you have to try it. You can't, you can't. The people who come and are like, I don't have any expectation, I just want to be open, that's where the magic happens, because there's no agenda. And then like really cool things just do happen in this energy of what I'll call magic. And I think magic and awe are also connected. So anyways, I'll pause there because I could go on and on, but I know you see this with the horses as well, right?
Oh, totally. They are just, you said, they are such a big animal that is so gentle and so kind-hearted. I mean, their heart is just huge. I always say my gray horse, his heart is bigger than he is, because he will give everything he's got to help you, to try to please. And it's just amazing. And a thought just came to my mind when you were talking about that with your clients, is a friend from the city was out the other day, and she was really pretty keyed up. My one horse, we were out looking at him, and he just lays down and completely lays down. And she goes, is he okay? And I'm going, yes, he's trying to tell you to relax. You just need to relax. And she goes, oh, my goodness. She goes, that's exactly what I need. She said, I cannot believe he did that. And I said, yeah, he's reading you. He knows. And that thought just came to mind when you said that. And it was magic. I mean, they are so magical. I always tell everybody, my horses are just magical. There's no other way to describe them, or that's one of the many ways I describe them.
Yeah. And you can't make this stuff up. Like, you couldn't, and that I think is why so many practitioners love doing the work, because they're like, oh, this is like, you could never get there in talking to someone. You can't even, a human will never know to like mirror, reflect, or metaphor, or provide the energies that someone needs to see or feel or own, and that we can do a decent job at it, but like of course is because they're so in their bodies and so in their energy fields, they can always, because they're reading energy, they can always do that. And so it's a whole nother level for people, which is really cool. So I want to also make sure I mention the health benefits, because this is some stuff that I didn't know until I started doing research on awe, because I'm like such a geek with this. It feels like it's just a big part of my purpose is to spread awe and get people into states of awe. And so I was fascinated to find they've done studies where it decreases inflammation. So they have markers of inflammation, which autoimmune disease, if you really do research, is often connected to inflammation in the gut, inflammation in the body. And awe has found to decrease this marker for people. So it literally is decreasing inflammation, which is so cool if you were to really go into deep awe experiences and grow awe consistently. Like, I don't know if they've studied that in autoimmune. I have danced around having autoimmune issues myself, and a bunch of people I know who are highly sensitive have them, right, like lupus and Hashimoto's and all of that. And so there's not a lot of science, there's the medical medium who talks about it, but there's so much in, like, I wonder if we were to take a bunch of autoimmune folks and put them in a lot of awe experiences. And again, awe can be different for other people. Like, some people are in awe of a snake, and I'm like, oh, that snake's cool, but, like, I don't necessarily need to be in awe of the, like, I might just be like, I'm okay. I don't need to see the snake. Snake's a bad example. Maybe a shark's a better one for me, but because I do like snakes. But yeah, I think it's like everyone has their own personal version, but it is associated with lowering inflammation, lowering stress, right? So the cortisol, and then bringing in more meaning, more purpose, and like that feeling of interconnectedness, and also feeling like we're not alone, right? Like there's some sort of master intelligence. Whether you believe, I used to be an atheist. Obviously, I'm a spiritual psychologist now with my master's in that. But I think it brings people like just really a spiritual experience of life as well. Like we're not alone. There's got to be a greater intelligence here. And my favorite person about awe, hands down, is the filmmaker Jason Silva. If anyone wants to watch his videos, he's just brilliant. He talks about, he has a great video called The Biological Advantage of Being Awestruck, and it's like a 3-minute video, and I love it. So I'm going to get a lot more research on awe up on my website, kateneligan.com, in the future, probably by end of year. So if people want to see all the stuff I've found, I'll have it up there. So.
Oh, awesome. Oh, that is so awesome, Kate. Well, I honestly think you and I could talk for hours about this awe, because we've just barely touched on just a few things that can bring awe, and how beneficial they are to the body, and how beneficial the animals in nature are in awe. And we could just go on and on and on.
Yeah, exactly. And I think right now it's just, I want to leave people with, think of one thing that sparks awe for you, and like literally go do it. Schedule it, go do it, and if animals are your thing, certainly you can find me and come be with my horses. I just had a 3-day retreat, and all of them are horse people, and they were still in complete awe over my horses and how they work and how they show up. And so we can learn from everyone at this point, so.
Oh, how beautiful, Kate. And thank you so for sharing your website, which will be posted on this podcast also, but that gives them here in the podcast where they can go and find out more information about you. And I want to thank you so much for this chat. This was just incredible. I loved every moment of it. Thank you so much, Kate.
Me too. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I would like to thank all of our listeners for listening to this amazing interview with an incredible diva, Kate Neligan. Please share this show with your family and friends. Check out all the other hosts and their shows on divasthatcare.com. And remember to find out what and where brings you the awe. Take those few moments, and you will be amazed at the results. Have a magical day. Be kind to all. Give your animals a great big extra hug and share all your love with them. Until we connect again on Robust Lifestyle, stay strong and healthy.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.